One of the things I want to talk about is the importance of attention to detail and processes. And so throughout my space career and my engineering career before that, I've had a lot of opportunity to reflect on what it is that's important to consider. It doesn't matter what you're in. You could be running a restaurant, you could be running a shoe shine stand, everything is hard. The Ariane 5 on its maiden voyage, less than a minute into launch, the vehicle exploded, lost hundreds of millions of dollars of satellites, over $500 million worth of satellites on that. In the post-crash analysis, it turned out it was one line of software was to blame. And what they had done is they'd taken the software from the Ariane 4 rocket, which was quite different, adapted it to the Ariane 5, and in so doing, in the cut and paste, they went through and they missed one line of code, and it had one number, one value was wrong. And that set the gains wrong for the flight control system, and so it quickly went out of control once it launched and was subsequently destroyed. Now, in another industry, you have actually potential for even worse failures, right? Even more potential for injury and loss of life. But even if your industry, your failures don't amount to that, I mean, in the very best case, you're going to have a mess and probably lose a bunch of money, which isn't going to make your shareholders or your bosses happy. There's a lot of help available oftentimes. Don't be afraid to ask for help, but if you're on the pointing end of the spear, especially if you're doing something like flying an airplane, don't abdicate control. We have whole teams of engineers and other specialists in the Mission Control Center who are great at helping you out. They have different teams for each system aboard the spacecraft. And on my Soyuz flight, for example, we were flying towards the International Space Station, and as we approached the station under 1,000 meters, suddenly all the alarms went off. And we started speeding up towards the station instead of slowing down, and we also started a left yaw. So it was actually a very dangerous situation. And what actually happened was the Mission Control Center was way behind, and that often happens in a flying situation. You're probably in a business situation too. The people on the point, the people there on the ground doing things, they're going to be a lot farther ahead than the people over at headquarters. So you've got to, in our case, there's a lot of excited chatter in Russian in our headsets telling us to do the wrong thing, basically. And so we actually had to stabilize the situation ourselves. We got the vehicle stopped 50 meters from the station. And so this was really a serious thing. If we had collided with the station, we almost certainly would have been killed, and we probably could have killed the people on board too. But Salajan, he was the pilot, I was the co-pilot, we looked at each other, and he kind of nodded, and so I went ahead and put us back into auto, and the whole problem started again, and I quickly brought us out of auto, and we looked at each other again, and we had an understanding, we're not doing that again, no matter what the ground says. Anyway, we did execute the first manual night docking to the space station and got on board safely, and which, by the way, earned Salajan a bonus of $10,000. The Russians have learned capitalism a lot better than we have. They're quick students.